Future Saga Chapter 4's DLC is going to lead into Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 and bring us into a new age for both time patrollers and supervillains, since the age 1000, the project name for the game, is actually the time where Dragon Ball Online originally takes place, meaning that technically Xenoverse 2 into Xenoverse 3 is actually taking us back to our roots in Dragon Ball Online. Hello everyone, it's me again, Steve Doji here, back to more Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Xenoverse 3, and Online. I get to say that now because they're basically all the same game taking place at the same time. So without further ado, let's get into this. We know obviously the major teaser for Future Saga Chapter 3 was it leading into Future Saga Chapter 4. I want to remind you guys that Future Saga Chapter 1 and 2 didn't have a big teaser for what the next Future Saga chapter was going to be. Only 3. And 3 is obviously only setting up because 4 would be the last one. And then after 4, we get Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, right? So the reason why this is probably being hyped up so much is because unlike Xenoverse 1 to 2, where the game released basically a year after the last one, Xenoverse 2 to Xenoverse 3 is over 10 years. By the time we actually get Future Saga Chapter 4 and Xenoverse 3 actually releases, it's actually going to be over 10 years. So they're doing a lot of hype, they're doing a lot of build-up of this. Obviously, we'll get more news in Dragon Ball Battle Hour, then we'll get more news as the year goes on, and the Dragon Ball Super BRS anime releases more stuff, and then the Moro arc is going to come out. But overall, they are setting up a lot of hype for the new Dragon Ball game, which we know is Xenoverse 3. If you guys are confused as to why I've been saying Xenoverse 3, you keep up. Go look at the channel. They confirmed Xenoverse 3 on accident yesterday, all right? It's actually absolutely insane that we're finally getting Xenoverse 3. It took very, very long, to the point where it's becoming even a meme, in fact. But Xenoverse 3 is real, and I honestly, I cannot be more grateful, man. I cannot wait for that game to come out. But let's get back on track. Now, we obviously know with Dragon Ball Online, since Dragon Ball Online is the actual Dragon Ball game that takes place in the Age 1000, which is what the project of Xenoverse 3 was called, Age 1000. Most of Dragon Ball Xenoverse's events actually do happen in Age 1000. A good example is Mira. I think he's the original person who destroys or makes planet Namek inhospitable, which is why Namekians live on Earth, which is why they're in Toki Toki and Konton City now, because Namekians had to move down to Earth. It's also the same timeline where Toa appears, and then obviously Future Trunks shows up for the first time in Dragon Ball's history, I guess. The Xeno Trunks for the first time actually saves the day, or makes his first time travel in Age 1000 to, help the Dragon Ball Online character, and so on and so forth, right? Age 1000 is basically the origin of the Time Patrol. Even back in Dragon Ball Online, Supreme Kai of Time is mentioned in that game, but we never get to see her. So again, Dragon Ball Online is basically Dragon Ball Xenoverse, yada yada yada. So when we go back to Xenoverse 3, it might actually be taking us far forward into the future, with Fu actually again also being born during Age 1000, when Toa and Mira actually met for the first time. Fu was a baby during Dragon Ball Online, and he becomes an adult in Xenoverse 2. Why? Because he obviously time traveled 200 years ago to go see what all the fuss was about in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which I think is actually very, very, very funny and very insane. And since Fu obviously comes from the timeline Age 1000, all of his research could have possibly been how to save the Dragon Ball Online timeline, because I don't know how else to describe it. The Dragon Ball Online timeline is basically almost like a you lose timeline. There's almost zero way to fix it, no matter how strong your Dragon Ball Online character realistically is. It's such a doomed timeline that the only way to fix it would genuinely to go back in time and make sure none of the stuff that happens, because Dragon Ball Online is like a war-torn history. It's so absolutely destroyed. Yeah, Earthlings are way stronger than they should be, and there's a bunch of people who can use ki, and there's a bunch of heroes that fight for justice, but it's not like Xenoverse where the Time Patrollers run these streets. Villains have to hide in fear of the Time Patrol. Dragon Ball Online's timeline is basically the villains reign supreme. It's actually kind of horrible. So Fu's research this whole time could have been, hey, how do I save my timeline? Because I don't care about anything that happens in the Universe timeline, right? That's not my timeline. That's probably why he cares so little about the things that go on in it. But he probably wants to save his timeline because, again, he comes from the Age 1000, right? His mom and his dad don't even exist when he goes back in time to Xenoverse 2, because we already took care of them. So, and obviously Fu's research efforts have gone a bit far, but if you take into account everything involving Xenoverse 2 story, Fu was actually supposed to have his part of Dragon Ball done a very, very long time ago when you realistically think about it. Because if you take things into account, again, how Supreme Kai Time and Oob's DLC is actually the final DLC of the game, the technical actual final DLC of the game, the one where they say everything of Xenoverse 2 is over, it's done, blah 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 blah, we can't wait until you see the next adventure. Then they still kept making DLC after that because Xenoverse 2 makes so much money, there's no reason to not keep supporting it. But again, when they made that DLC, that's the same time that they said that they started development on Dragon Ball Age 1000. Realistically, when they wanted to end Xenoverse 2, they wanted to start Xenoverse 3. But again, Xenoverse 2 is so successful that they're still milking it to this day. I mean, like, okay, DLC 6 is supposed to be like the extra story DLC, right? The one where we got that really cool, like, future story expansion where you could pick your different mentors and have, like, branching paths. That's, like, the last time they actually tried with, like, story modes to, like, the fullest, because, again, it's Xenoverse. It's a game about manipulating time and changing history, and they have this big update where you could change all of these different things. That's, like, the last real story mode they did until the end of Xenoverse 1 with the Marjubin 21 DLC. That was, like, it literally took, like, 4 DLCs to go from DLC 6 to DLC 10 for them to do another story mode. Then all of a sudden after that, when they realize that people are still buying the game and they can still milk the game a bit more before they actually make Xenoverse 3, that's when we suddenly get Topo versus God Vegeta, or like Topo versus Blue Evolved Vegeta, right? Which is very filler, but they just wanted, you know, to pad out more stuff until they had Xenoverse 3 ready. That's when we had the cutscene of Blue Goku and Future Gohan teaming up against Janemba, which was like the first instance of everyone saying that, you know, this story leads to Xenoverse 3 before it started getting spammed for like every story. Then later we had Jiren versus Broly. We had Full Power Jiren versus DBS Broly, when Gogeta gets like reduced to only his base form, and Caulifla and Kale are also randomly just there as well. That was also another story where people were saying, this leads to Xenoverse 3 again. And then we also had UI Sign Goku, Dispo, and GT Vegeta as a DLC, which obviously led to, you know, the UI Sign Goku beating up Kid Buu cinematic. And everyone was like, this also leads to Xenoverse 3. I mean, in reality, that's not wrong. All of these cutscenes actually were leading up to like Xenoverse 3. It's just that at the time, it wasn't true. But now we know it is true, all right? They were just kind of padding things out until they had the game ready. Because all of a sudden, they go from doing basically no DLC story modes to just doing a ton of DLC story modes where Fu is in control and masterminding everything, and he makes everything go exactly the way he wants to. Because again, his last real appearance is supposed to be DLC 6. He's supposed to get away with it in DLC 6 to get his plan, you know, rolling in Xenoverse 3. But because Xenoverse 2 kept going on, he keeps showing up and he keeps adding more to his plan, where he's like, no, I need just a tiny bit more research, just a wee bit more research. I promise, just this last bit of research, and I'm definitely done. You know, like, Fu was supposed to have his big, you know, plan reveal moment in DLC 6, but they kept it going, and now we're finally going to see what the final form of it looks like in Future Saga Chapter 4, which is like, what, DLC 23? Where are we now? It's like so far ahead, it's absolutely unreal. So, yeah, it's actually completely absurd that we're actually at this stage when it comes to Xenoverse's story. Xenoverse story is a very long story, but just like Dragon Ball Online story, it's supposed to be long. It's about time after all. Which reminds me, have you ever seen a game being so successful that the game was originally supposed to just like end its like support and have a final DLC, and then people kept supporting it, so the game was like, all right, screw it, we'll just make more. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that, but obviously this is a good thing, because again, the longer it takes to make Xenoverse 3, realistically, the better the game has to be, right? Now you guys could say, oh, well, see, what about Sparking Zero? I'm gonna be real, I'm not gonna lie, I think with Sparking Zero, they were just slightly overwhelmed. They're trying to recreate a game that they made over a decade ago. But the team is obviously very different, because different people made Tenkaichi 2 and 3 to the people that are making Sparking Zero. It doesn't even have the same amount of like love and care and anime accuracy kind of things that people are addicted to. Again, Beam Clash is one of the best examples, right? Why would you like make Beam Clash so unflattering in Sparking Zero compared to how awesome they are to do in Tenkaichi 3? Okay, yeah, in Sparking Zero you could say they probably look prettier, sure, but they're definitely way less engaging, they're way less fun, they're way less creative, you know? So I think in Sparking Zero, its major issue is that the people who made Tenkaichi 2 and 3 on the Wii, by the way, are not going to suddenly be making the exact same game over like 15, 16 years later for the Series X, PS5, and goddamn Nintendo Switch and PC. Like, there's no way those are the same people. Compared to the people who made Xenoverse 2 10 years ago, oh, we made Xenoverse 2 for the Xbox One, and for like the PS4, and for like for Nintendo Switch 1, right, and all that stuff. Those same people are still going to be in the studio making it from PS4 to PS5 and from like Xbox One Series X. Like, it's going to be the same people, so that I have faith in. But with Sparking Zero, that was just a big oopsie, you know. There's no way you can have these new like people come into the studio and somehow recapture and recreate all the talent and like love that was made like over a decade and a half ago. With the Xenoverse 2 devs, it's very easy, because we know the Xenoverse 2 workers, especially the producer Hirano. Hirano went from producer of like, what, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 to like the director of all Dragon Ball games. So these people are still in charge. They can still make like the same game but better. It's not gonna be like Sparking Zero. I can guarantee that for a fact. Either way, I do think that's a great place to end the video. And again, I do believe obviously DLC 4 is actually going to be what ties us into Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, because now that we know Xenoverse 3 is real and confirmed, right? And the fact that Xenoverse 2 still makes so much money that the game was supposed to end like 6 damn years ago, but it's still going. By the way, that's absolutely insane, and that's the biggest indicator that obviously they're going to try and tie Xenoverse 2 into DLC or into Xenoverse 3 as best as they can. Because with Xenoverse 1 to Xenoverse 2, it's like, okay, we have to make a second game because Xenoverse 1 is kind of old, it's kind of outdated, and because this new game is obviously going to cover Dragon Ball Super, since we're now done with Dragon Ball Z, right? Again, the last update for Xenoverse 1 was Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, and then the first thing Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 does is cover the Goku Black arc, which is, you know, directly after Resurrection F. With the pre-order characters being, you know, Goku Black and Future Trunks for Xenoverse 2. Like, again, that was the whole point, right? So that was different. But Xenoverse 2 to Xenoverse 3 is like, okay, we need to, like, step up big time because Xenoverse 2 was a giga success. And we have a new anime coming out. And if we want to recreate the exact same money-making, crazy, like, XP bonus we got with Xenoverse 2 releasing the same time as Dragon Ball Super, we should obviously release, you know, Xenoverse 3 at the same time as Dragon Ball Super 2. And I think that's a good business decision. First of all, it's good for the players because it means the players are going to get constant updates, constant support, and they get to play the new characters and new updates the moment they get revealed to us in the anime. But it also means that for the, you know, developers, they make lots of money, which is good because the more money they make, realistically, the better the game should be. So, yeah, I have no problem with them doing that. Okay, but for real, I think that now this is a great place to end the video. Again, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, then obviously, again, please leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe, it really supports the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below about all of this, because again, I think I've always been right about this, that the Future Saga Chapter DLC was obviously building up to something, and it wasn't just a second end to Xenoverse 2, obviously, because we already had a first end to Xenoverse 2 that was very good, so a second end to Xenoverse 2 wasn't going to do anything. And now we know that Age 1000 is also Xenoverse 3, so that kind of, you know, ties a knot on all of this. So again, you guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And I think that'll be it. I do love you all. I hope you enjoyed. And I will see you fellas all next time. Take care and peace, everybody. Stay cool.